good day to you all. If you would please put your hands together for an opening meditation. Listen to the Buddhist teachings, even if you must take time out from your daily business. To believe that you will listen when you have some spare time is shallow thinking. There is no tomorrow in listening to the teaching. By Renyo Shonin, the 8th abbot of our Mother Temple, Nishi Honganji in Kyoto, Japan. If you would please join me in Gassho. Namo Amidos, Namo Amidos, Namo Amidos, Namanos, Namanos. Many of us grew up with the children's show, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. His given name was Fred Rogers. He was a television personality, producer, writer, musician, puppeteer, and an ordained minister. One day while home from college, he was watching a television show and thought the show was horrible. On that day, he announced to his family that he wanted to go into television. After finishing his schooling, he left for New York. After many years as a gopher to television executives and becoming a floor manager, Fred Rogers moved back to Pennsylvania to work for a children's program at NET, now known as PBS. He was host of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood for 33 years. He eventually was ordained as a minister. However, instead of becoming a pastor of a church, he used television to minister to family and children. In Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, he dealt with many issues that children could and would encounter. He focused on children's emotional and physical concerns, such as death, civil rivalry, school, divorce, war, and many other issues. His insights served as a comfort to many children and parents during their most traumatic times. His understanding served other children's programmers who would follow him. His demeanor was of compassion, kindness, taking the time to understand with gentleness and listening. Based on his awarded achievements, a movie was based on his life called A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. The movie portrayed Fred Rogers as a very thankful person of gratitude and compassion. Each question asked of him was acknowledged with a thank you. He felt gratitude because that question was not of asking about his success or technique, but of concern of him as a person. His thoughts, and he was thankful for people taking the time to listen. Fred Rogers grew up with very few friends. He grew up being bullied by other children because he was overweight, shy, introverted, and often homebound due to asthma. He used a puppet and stuffed animals to create his own world, and this was carried into his television show. His childhood experiences taught him many lessons that he communicated on his show. Fred Rogers quit the neighborhood for 3 years. There were several reasons he relinquished his position. He felt that he touched on all subjects that children would encounter. However, the most important reason for leaving the show was that he saw how his two sons suffered from having an absentee father. Fred Rogers was a father figure to millions of other children, but not to his own. Realizing this, he took time off to be present for his family and focus on their wants and needs. During those 3 years away from television, Fred Rogers spent connecting or reconnecting with his children and family. His two sons eventually matured and began to understand the importance of their father's message. However, during all this time, Fred Rogers remained only in the present with his sons and wife. But Fred Rogers began to realize that there were so many more subjects that had to be explored, and he eventually returned to host his neighborhood. One of his best qualities was the ability to listen. He not only used his ears, but his eyes and mind. He felt with his heart and was touched by other people's stories. He observed without judgment, prejudice, or discrimination. We think we listen. However, to truly listen is an important quality that is difficult to acquire. We hear, but our minds grasp only that which we want to hear. However, we do not have the sensibility to listen. We hear, but do not listen. Our minds tend to wander with other thoughts or places, but to truly listen is to be openly present with that person. Maybe it is our ego and arrogance that stand between our true listening. How are we going to listen to others when we do not listen to ourselves? We do not like others to see how ignorant we truly are, or how we may not be right all the time. We wear a mask so that others do not see who we are or what our limitations are. We do not show our true selves. We are not perfect beings, and we are all vulnerable to our imperfections, and we are still infants when it comes to listening. Yet, what are a few minutes to be present and listen to others, and to listen to the Buddha Dharma? Are we so afraid that we may learn from another person? Buddha knows our limitations and yet continues to accept us just as we are. We have Naomi Nakano to help develop that keen ear so that one day we can truly listen to others and to listen to our inner self to find who we truly are. We all have to learn how to listen. Even Fred Rogers, although he had fame and fortune, he too had demons that he had to struggle with. He had to deal with anger, conflict, and his own self-doubt. Yet, he was able to communicate these conflicts through a positive action of reflection. Buddha and Shinran Shonin's lessons teach us of self-reflection. Although we have a possessed ability to look deep within our hearts and minds, we tend to ignore self-reflection and rely on our ego to cover our weaknesses. How easy it is to blame others rather than to examine our true selves. We must learn to silence our minds, to think so that we can listen with a deeper understanding. Taking a baby step into listening without ego, greed, anger, or ignorance, we can deepen our understanding of who we are and into being present with others. We only have to stop, hear, listen, and think. It is our Namo Amida Butsu that can show us ways of improving our listening. Yet, we must also be willing to take that baby step into the unknown of what true listening and thinking is. Be safe, stay healthy, and it is always Namo Amida Butsu. If you would please put your palms together in final Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Nama Amida Butsu. Nama Amida Butsu. Nama Amida Butsu.